Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. According to Big C and them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys from in Canada. Now you know we love the Big C tribe. I didn't forget about you in Africa, but Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home on the brave on a beautiful March the 1st, 2018. Big C, how's it going in your neck of the woods?
Well, Charlton, the only thing we've been getting free down here is excess water.
Yeah.
It's raining like crazy down here.
Yeah.
It's going to have all the football fields all damp for spring practice.
Yeah. Man, Big C, I know we have year-round sports, and you got football on the mind so much. Maybe that's why the SEC wins so much. A lot of things happening in the world of sports and politics. We have Arizona. Sean Miller gave a statement today. He's back on the bench. The Warriors traveled to Washington, D.C. yesterday, had a nice showing against the Washington, and then the Rockets, because they're all eyeing each other, those two teams, and they went into L.A. and had a nice win over the Clippers, even though it was close at times. There's talk that maybe Mark Jackson or even Doc Rivers could be the next coach to coach the New York Knicks. We'll have to see how that pans out. And then something that happened in football. I know we have the NFL talks going on in Indianapolis, but this act, the Dave Duerson Act of Illinois, they're trying to put football players under 12 out of commission. That means they can't play. I think that might be a good thing because we're finding out so much about CTE and issues. Big C, I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C said you could drive a car or you could drive a Cadillac. Big C, your thoughts on this Dave Duerson Act? I think it's a good thing for football as we're looking at the next players that are going to be taken. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you have to look at football prior to Pop Warner's innovation into American society. You didn't play football until you got to high school, contact football.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the greatest players of all time, Charlton, they played in the pre-Pop Warner era. Pop Warner does not guarantee you being a professional football player.
Yeah.
It does not even guarantee you being a high school football player. So many players are pushed into that sport at a very young age, Charlton, that can be very damaging to them. You have overzealous parents who didn't achieve their athletic success at times, pushing their kids in, trying to live vicariously through them.
Yeah.
But the number one thing about youth sports, Charlton, is that you have improperly trained coaches.
Yeah.
You don't have them. You don't have coaches that have been put through an academy to learn proper coaching, fundamental techniques, to be able to pass on to the youth.
Yeah.
And 90% of the coaches, Charlton, that participate in youth football is some volunteer who shows up because he didn't achieve the success that he wanted in high school. I'm not even talking about college.
Yeah.
I'm talking about high school.
Yeah.
So these guys come out there and they're rah-rah and gun-ho and telling players, you got to be tough. There's no whining. There's no bowing out stuff. Get up, do it again.
Yeah.
Hit the guy, tackle. They don't sit there and just do walk-through fundamentals.
Yeah.
Which is what you have to teach kids at this level. That they're not physically or mentally developed enough to grasp the full scope of what a football player is.
Yeah.
That they get ruined by watching the highlights on television.
Yep.
You see these young kids walk out there, they got 9 wristbands on each arm, 3 towels hanging off their butt.
Yeah.
$100 pair of cleats on.
Yeah.
And a $90 pair of gloves. And it's like, okay, who dressed this kid?
And that's the guy on the bench.
That's that parent I talked about that's overzealous.
Yeah.
Just living vicariously. Oh, my kid's got to have all this on.
Yeah.
Who can't even spell football?
Yeah.
But, they got, $300 worth of equipment on, and that's not talking about the team uniform.
Yeah.
And coming out there, and they're going to be the next great superstar.
Yep.
So this banning an age, putting an age limit on youth football, I'm not even against it going back just to high school.
Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah.
When you look in certain towns, and they may have 4 or 5 youth football teams in one particular town.
Yeah.
Look at the number of high schools that are there, Charles.
Yeah.
So you can't put all those kids on a high school football team. You can't put them on the freshman team. You can't put them on the JV team.
Yeah.
So now you got all these kids that, some may have been injured.
Yeah.
Their high school career is over before it even gets started.
Well, I wanna ask you this question because a lot of Hall of Fame football players, they may have played youth football. I think, if I'm not wrong, that the Pop Warner can start, right around 10, 12 years old. Maybe wrong about that, but I know there's
Pee-wee football, Charles, starts pre-10. It starts about 7 years old.
Okay, that's really young. Now, when we look at the Hall of Fame players and the All-Pro players and going at the professional level, a lot of those players, they really didn't get good until they got some training at the high school level and then especially at the college level. I think your point is very salient.
Well, look at this.
Yeah.
No player born prior to 1957 that played in the NFL played Pop Warner football. Pop Warner football came into play, Charlton, I believe in 1970 in America.
Yeah.
1970 is when Pop Warner football came into play.
Yeah.
And you had to be 13 years of age to play it.
Yeah.
Okay? You had to be 13. That was the initial age of Pop Warner football.
Yeah.
Prior to that, all they had was punt, pass, and kick.
I remember that.
So when you think about that no one born prior to 1957 played Pop Warner football of any type, go look at the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Go look at the College Football Hall of Fame. Go look at all the Heisman Trophy winners, Charlton.
Yeah.
Prior to that time, and so I would believe that the first kid that would have played Pop Warner probably would have graduated college 77, 78, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Go look at all the people who won the Heisman Trophy prior to that. All of them that played in the NFL prior to that.
Yeah.
All of them that were inducted into the Hall of Fame that came into the NFL prior to that time. And see what the difference is in those players.
Yeah.
Versus players who played Pop Warner.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, because we look at sports, and Big C, everybody blames football. I know growing up I played football and punt, pass, and kick, and then baseball and basketball. I know that people look at football and they say, what a dangerous sport because the CTE is focused on that. Now, of course, when you play football, especially linemen, they get hit every play. Running backs don't get hit every play if they're not carrying the ball, and receivers don't get hit every play if they're not carrying the ball. But no one's really done the study on baseball players who got hit in the head by a baseball or soccer ball players who headbutt a ball. Unlike football, where you have a helmet, soccer players, they headbutt. But there's this big pushback on football, and I think it's a good thing. I don't think they need to play when they're 12 because they're just not developed. But is there going to be the same type of scrutiny over soccer or even baseball taking a fast pitch to the head, Big C, or is it just a stigma against playing football, Big C? Your thoughts?
It's a stigma of football, Charlton. You look at hockey players who probably receive concussions at a higher rate than football players. I remember Eric Lindros, the number 1 draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers, never achieved the claim that he thought he would achieve as a professional hockey player because of the concussions that he suffered over his career. I mean, it ended his career, the multiple concussions that he had. 1 year he's an MVP, 3 years later he's out of the league because of the multiple concussions. He just could not play a complete season, and people went after him. They knew that he had a mental vulnerability being hit in the head.
Yeah.
So his career was ended. He never played 10 years in the NHL, but they were thinking that he would be the next Gretzky.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But because of concussions, and the NHL doesn't, cover them like the NFL does.
Right.
You look at the fist fights that go on, Charlton, and generally those would end with a player being concussed.
Yeah.
It was like a boxing match. Bare knuckles to the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the NHL didn't look at it like the NFL does. Yes, there's always been concussions in the NFL. It goes back to the days of smelling salt.
Yeah.
When you rub the ammonia in here on their kids' toes in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, Charlton.
Yeah.
And how many fingers I have up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Before the protocols come now.
Yeah.
But you send a player right back on the field. And that's what I mean about Pop Warner football.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that are on the sideline at Pop Warner football.
Yeah.
You know, okay, just shake it off. You got to be tough. You can't cry. You don't want people to see you crying.
Yeah.
Come on. You know, suck it up. Suck
it up. I remember those days.
This is what these people are saying
Yeah.
to these little boys and some little girls that are out there.
Yeah.
But like I said, it comes down to lack of training. When you look at the NFL now, when they talk about medical protocol in the NFL,
Yeah.
they have a thing now. They don't even take players to the locker room. They have this tent they puff up on the sideline.
What's in the tent,
And you
though,
have
Big
medical
Z?
professionals in there.
What's in the tent? We've seen
Well,
guys walk in and walk out.
Well, yes, some walk in, walk out. But what I'm saying is that when a player goes down on the field in the NFL,
Yeah.
you see no less than 4 medical personnel around this player.
Yeah.
Sometimes 6 to 8. You'll see both teams' medical staff coming out to this player.
Yeah.
And this is a grown man who's of peak physical and mental condition, okay?
Yeah.
Even on a college game, you see 3, 4, 5 medical staff personnel run out to a player.
Yeah.
You don't get that in a high school game, Charlton. You may get the team doctor and the coach. You might even get the medical personnel from the other team come out.
Yeah.
You don't get the paramedics that are sitting in the ambulance down in the end zone when a player goes down to run out to his assistants on the field. You don't get that in high school.
Yeah.
So think about how much less you get at a Pop Warner game. You got the coach waddling out there, and some of them weighing over 300 pounds, okay?
Yeah.
Can't even get down to the ground. He's sitting there huffing and puffing, sweating on the kid.
You must not live in California, Big Z. Yeah.
And that's the only thing that revives the kid, that the sweat hit the kid in the eyes or something.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
but,
funny.
You know, but not trying to be facetious about it.
Yeah.
You don't have the trained people. When parents sit there and say they're worried about the well-being of their children, you know, and when you think about the cost of a kid now playing youth football,
Yeah.
it's a couple $100 to a family
Oh, yeah.
for the kid to be able to play youth football.
Yep.
Then they have to sign an insurance waiver,
Yeah.
okay? They got to pay for insurance and also sign an insurance waiver
Yeah.
against injury that they can't sue, you know, because they are aware of the dangers that may exist if this kid gets injured.
Yep.
So they understand, the leagues do, the risk of injury, and the cities that back the league, because the city doesn't want to be sued.
Yeah.
So they make the family sign a waiver.
And that's a
But
big part of it. Yeah.
It should be first and foremost is that every youth game in America have to have a designated licensed physician
Yeah.
to attend the games. I understand the paramedics in the ambulance,
Yeah.
but those paramedics can't man the ambulance. They're going to have to be on the sideline
Yeah.
because these things happen all day long.
Yeah.
When he's down in an ambulance 70 yards away, 80 yards away from the action going on, a kid goes down, it's left up to the coach to decide, generally, should that kid be picked up. You don't know if there's spinal damage or you know, any other type of damage he may have.
Yeah.
Dislocation.
Yep.
This coach is trying to figure it out. And like I said, half the time he can't bend over far enough to get down to the kid.
Yeah. Hey, all fair is a level more. I look at some of the issues that I've seen, and you brought it up. They had this coaches mentoring program, and they happen all over the country. They have these 7-on-7 drills where you don't wear pads and there's no contact. That's good. But I recall seeing something on a program just last year. They were talking about players that want to mentor the youth. And I remember a kid, you could tell when a fighter is dazed. You don't have to have the referee count him out. He gets punched to the side of the head. You can see when he's dazed. MMA and boxing. I saw a player just get smashed. And he was wobbly. He couldn't get up. And they had to help him to his feet. And then they told him, toughen up, shake it off. And then go ahead and take a breather and get some water. And then get back in line so that you can go through these roughhouse plays again. And this was just in the last 2 years. Even that we've been all aware of the concussion protocol. So I think you're right. Not every coach is qualified to be a doctor or a physician that can tell if someone is concussed. And that affects you, Big C, whether you're 17 or 27, and especially if you're 12. Are you to the point now where we say, in order to be a football coach, that you have to go through some kind of medical training and not just some seminar? Big C, your thoughts?
Charleston, you have to have some physical training in your backfield. I'm talking about at least on a college level.
Yeah.
You've had to go through at least some kinesiology classes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So some physical therapy classes.
Yeah.
Some things you have to be trained at.
Yeah.
You know, at least go through a paramedics class.
Yeah.
If you're going to coach. You have to have some qualifications. You have to be certified. Not to say I'm a youth coach.
Yeah.
But I have medical knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, these are the things that you're talking about protecting youth. You're not talking about giving them a chance to play.
Yeah.
You're talking about protecting them, long-term protection.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you put a 12-year-old in a car, Charlton,
Yeah.
you have to put a seatbelt on.
Yep.
It's against the law to drive down the street without a seatbelt on a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
As a parent. And you're not intentionally trying to cause harm to your child. Sometimes kids jump the car and forget to put them on.
Yeah.
But if a police officer sees you, he writes you a ticket because you've endangered your child.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So you think about the constant collisions that go on in youth football. Okay? And you have someone who is not trained how to adhere to that child being down on the ground.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, we don't have enough funds to provide the proper medical staffing on the sideline.
Yeah.
If you don't have the funds, why run the league?
That's very true.
You know,
but, yeah.
have a bake sale or whatever you got to do to get an off-duty doctor
Yeah.
or a paramedic to at least be on the sideline full-time throughout the game.
Well, Big C, I think some of those coaches down south took your advice. They had big sales, but they were eating the cake instead of selling it, Big C. That's why you have 300-pound coaches down south, Big C. I know there's a couple out west, too. But, yeah, I'm so proud of the fact that there's a lot of youth football programs. But even thinking about an 11 or 9 or 10-year-old playing full contact, helmet-on-helmet football doesn't make any sense even before the CTE issue. But I'm glad that the stance that people are making, they're not trying to get rid of football. They're just trying to improve it the same way General Motors and Ford and other American car companies, they improved, like Cadillac, they improved their cars from 2018. You go back to 2000, or even go back to 1990, or 1980, 1970, and in the 60s, Cadillac has improved their vehicles. They didn't get rid of cars. They made them safer, and I applaud sports for doing that. But again, you know how we talk about it takes athletes, Big C, to make things happen in society? It's the Dave Duerson Act in Illinois that made that happen in Illinois, and I know as a Chicago Bear, there's so many people when you think about Hallis and the Windy City and that defense that they had up there, and people love the Bears. They can only think back to the '85 Bears. They haven't had as much success then. But it's good when athletes can do things.
Yeah. You know, when we look at this youth football,
yeah,
and there's a weight limit on the youth football who can play it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know I was omitted from playing youth football because of my weight.
Yeah.
And it didn't stop me from playing professional football.
Yeah.
Not playing youth football. Matter of fact, I looked at all the guys who played youth football.
Yeah.
When we got into high school, and it's like, okay.
Yep.
You know,
yeah.
I don't know why you think you're better than me. I'm a better athlete.
Yeah.
You played some youth football, but I'm a better athlete.
Yeah.
And I went out to prove that I was a better athlete than worried about the guy who played youth football.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if the NFL did a study, if college football did a study. How many guys that played youth football versus the guys who did not have the ability to play youth football or didn't want to play it went on to succeed and become professional athletes?
Yeah.
Versus those who played youth football.
Yeah, and that's a good study to have. And I know they'll start doing more in soccer. It's just a lot of some of the football players. I think it started with the Webster for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they even made the movie with Will Smith and Dr. Amalo, and they talked about the CTE. But it can happen when you get any head trauma. So I hope that other sports
CTE
are doing it.
was around long before Mike Webster, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just with Dr. Amalo, Mike Webster had to be at a time
Yep.
when medical study had advanced enough to understand what it was.
Yeah.
No U.S. doctor wanted to take on that study. Dr. Marlowe, by being a foreigner out of Africa,
Yeah.
looked at something that had a parallel to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
American doctors may have seen that before, but you didn't want to be the American doctor to go say, hey, there's traumatization
Yeah.
in football
Yeah.
that has caused problems.
Yeah.
I guarantee you many American doctors were aware of it. It was
yeah.
just, if you don't talk about it, we won't discuss it, okay?
Yep.
You don't bring it to the forefront, we won't let the players know about it, Charlton. But there were players suffering long before Mike Webster.
Yeah.
People thought it was Alzheimer's, okay?
Yep.
John Mackey passed away before Mike Webster was diagnosed with CTE, okay?
Yeah.
Through the brain study. John Mackey, all-pro tight end. You know, Baltimore coach. Matter of fact, he caught the touchdown and put the coach ahead against the Cowboys in Super Bowl IV down in Miami.
Yep.
On a tip pass by Charlie Waters that was thrown by Johnny Unitas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
His wife and he fought the NFL for years for medical assistance.
Yeah.
They kept denying him, saying that his illness was not related to playing professional football.
Wow.
John Mackey died broke in a nursing home after suffering all these concussions playing tight end in the NFL, having to go against defensive ends and linebackers every play, and then going over the middle, being hit high by safety.
Yeah.
Okay? But in those days, it was legal to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
John Mackey, and they call him the godfather of tight ends because he revolutionized the position,
Yeah.
had CTE and died from it without any medical assistance or acknowledgement from the NFL.
And that's a shame. And now we know they're trying to do better. They can never make everything 100% perfect, but they are doing better. I love the fact that you can bring up things, Big C. You must have that extra Google on your you're not going to qualify for any CTE studies, Big C, the way you start pulling stuff up, Big C. Just so you know, I do want to touch on something that's going on also in the world of the college basketball. And I know we talk about it again. And I look at the fact that the Big Ten's already started their tournament in Madison Square Garden. They're trying to get right past the talk of paying players. And so they're saying, let's just start everything early, Big C. And so we don't have to talk about it because Americans have a short attention span. And we're going to get caught up in the fact that let's fill out our brackets. And they're going to try to push money to the side. And I love a point you brought up because you've been bringing it up for 2 years. It's not like you just brought it up last week like a lot of people. When I hear players, former players, or even former college or NBA players saying, well, we can't pay people because it's just too complicated. Okay, then don't pay the coaches. Okay, is it complicated? If they decide not to pay the coaches, Big C, don't pay the administration, don't pay the schools, don't pay the athletic directors because it's too complicated. Big C, it's only complicated when the majority of people working for free are black. And people can Google that because that's the money. Now, someone says, well, what are we going to do about the water polo team? How are we going to pay them? Well, pay them a percentage of the gate. Does that make sense, Big C, or am I out of bounds, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, it's what I've always advocated. You take 10% of whatever a coach makes, whatever that university wants to pay a coach. We just saw Sean Miller come back at Arizona, okay?
Oh, yeah?
His salary is $4.3 million in Arizona. Take 10% of that. What are you talking about? $410,000, $430,000?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's going to be paid out to the basketball team.
Yep.
You got 15 players on the basketball team. I don't know how complicated that is. I think you can find a calculator somewhere to break down, you know, 430,000 divided by 15, whatever that come out to. I know it's beyond the scope of what I can think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got a water polo coach. Okay, they make $107,000 a year.
Yeah.
All right, 10% of that is, you know, $10,700.
Yeah.
How many polo players you got? 10, 12?
How many fans you got in the stands watching them? About 1,000?
Yeah, we're not talking about the season, okay? We're talking about, you know, okay? So you take that and you divide that between the water polo players because they're not generating the revenue.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You do the same with football.
Yeah.
You know, you take Nick Saban, what is he making, $9 million?
Yep.
Okay. Got 105 players on his team.
Yeah, how much they making?
Got 100, so making $9 million, that's 900,000.
Yeah.
You take that and you divide it, 110 whatever players he got on the team. You just divide it between them.
But Big C,
it's not hard math, Charles.
Well, you're making some of these TV people look bad because they're saying it's complicated. Just keep giving the coach $9 million, but it's too complicated when it comes to paying young black kids. But if those young black kids have the consciousness and decided not to show up to skip school that day or to skip the game that day, I'm sure the coaches have said, let's find a way to do something about this. I just think that's a very good point you brought up. But it's like we talked about before. It's going to take the black athlete to do this. Because for the most part, once they finish playing, they don't have a job. Okay, the school's not going to offer them a job. It may offer one of the less than 12 black African-American head coaches at Division I. And if you look around the country, if you are Caucasian, you know you're going to get into the job force easier because of cronyism, okay? Nepotism and cronyism. Friends hiring friends, and some family members hiring family members. And, that's the way it is, even though it's illegal. Trump does it, so a lot of people do it. But I think there's something that you brought up. It just makes sense. I was talking to a car dealer the other day when I was getting my car serviced. And we were talking about this college basketball thing and football and how they don't want to pay people. And he was saying, well, they shouldn't pay people because it's not fair. You can't pay everybody. You can only pay you say just football and basketball players get paid. What about the other people where this sport doesn't bring in the same amount of money? And I said, let me ask you a question, car salesman. Are you a top salesman or a low salesman here at the dealership? He said, well, I'm always in the top 10%. I said, okay, so take your money and give it to the guy in last place. He said, no, well, why would I do that? I said, why would they take football money and give it to sports that's not producing? You get what you earn. It's not just given to you, but if they want to give it to people like Title IX, I can understand. You can still do the same thing you talked about. But it's unfair to tell people that because they're the lowest salesperson, they got to make the same amount of money as the highest salesperson. Big C, does that exist anywhere in the country where the lowest salesperson, whether insurance, real estate, or a stockbroker, gets the same amount of money that the top player gets or owner gets? Big C, your thoughts?
Charles, nowhere are they pooling the money in America to say, okay, you don't have to work, but you're going to make the same amount of money that I make.
Yeah.
So like I said, the easiest way to settle that is that all these coaches have salaries.
Yeah.
Now, the water polo salary is not equaling the basketball coach's salary, Charlton, okay?
No.
The track team's coach is not equaling the football coach's salary.
No.
It's just not. The tennis team coach and the golf team coach are not the same.
Yeah.
Okay? But majority of sports in college have some revenue stream.
Yeah.
They all charge for interest into their event. Depending on the conference you're in,
yeah.
Hockey is a huge revenue sport.
Yeah.
Lacrosse is a huge revenue sport. Ladies baseball is a huge revenue sport.
Oh, yeah.
As well as basketball.
Yeah.
If you look at the University of South Carolina, that basketball team brings in, the girls' basketball team brings in more than the men's basketball team.
Yeah.
So that's a huge revenue sport. We know UConn stands on its own in
they sure do.
basketball.
They sure
Notre
do.
Dame as well.
Yeah.
As well as a half other schools around the country. Baylor, Tennessee, they've always stood on their own when it comes to female sports.
Yeah.
Basketball, baseball. So their coaches make nice salaries.
Yeah.
But what I said is 10% rule. If you want it equitable, it doesn't make any difference what the sport is.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any difference what the coach makes. It's just 10% of what you pay that coach
Yeah.
is the same amount you take out and break off to the players that are there.
Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah.
All the players that are on that roster. So if you're at, Duke, Krzyzewski's making $9 million.
Yep.
As 15 players.
Yeah.
You break up 15 players divided by 900,000. You know.
Yeah.
And it goes in that way.
Yeah.
But you look up and down the list. Your boy Dabu Sweeney just went to A&M.
Yep.
Easy. $7.5 million. Take 10%, $750,000.
Yeah.
You dole it out between the football team.
Yeah.
It's not a hard number to figure out.
Yep.
If you can sit there and negotiate that coach, that huge contract, it's automatically on the slate in the NCAA.
Yeah.
That 10% of whatever you pay a coach is taken and given to the players on that roster equally.
Yeah. No,
Okay?
I love
That's
that.
not hard to figure out.
No.
So if you're paying a coach $100,000 at a university for coaching football,
Yep.
well, it's
Yep.
$10,000 that goes to the players on that team, so they only get a few hundred apiece.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay?
that's true.
It's all based on what that university is earning from that sport. That's what that coach's salary is based upon.
Yeah. That's a good point, Big C. So when people say what I keep hearing from the people who push back on paying the players, but they never argue against paying the coaches, they don't argue against paying the athletic directors, and they don't argue against having that money go
But Charlton,
to any
think about
budget.
this.
Yeah.
You just said something about paying the coaches, okay?
Yeah.
So when you have academic improprieties that go on,
Yep.
lack of institutional control, why isn't it put into a coach's contract that he has to give up a percentage of the money he makes? You have 22 rule violations that Blake, your boy Kelly at Notre Dame had.
Yeah.
And they were talking about giving up,
Some plays, some
victory.
games. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Why didn't he have to give up 22% of his contract?
Wow.
Why didn't he have to get that back?
That would hit home. Yeah.
When we look at any of these universities around the country, we're looking at Michigan State, and you're looking at both football and basketball
Yeah.
with all these sexual misconduct allegations that are going on.
Yeah.
Whatever number that is, why doesn't Izzo and D'Antoni have to get back that percentage of their contract?
Yeah. That's a very good point.
This is an easy thing to settle. Well, anytime a coach has an allegation against him of something that occurred,
Yeah.
if it's 1, if it's 20, if it's 30, he has to get back that percentage of his contract.
That makes a lot
The
of
whole
sense.
contract, not just that season, the whole contract.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And by the time we get to the point where it makes sense, I think more and more people will start looking at it. It's always the first edition of anything that we do, Big C. It's not always going to be applauded. It's not always going to be appreciated. There's always some kind of a pushback. So no one's saying that it's going to be one and it's going to be that way forever. Just like anything else, you can always improve things. I do want to say
But
this.
Charlton,
Yeah.
what I just said, and I'll let you get back to
Yeah.
that. It's just like what I said about putting the kid in the seatbelt
Yeah.
when we talked about Pop Warner football.
Yep.
If you get a ticket, they fine you, don't they?
Yep. Yeah.
They take a percentage of your income, of your salary,
Yep.
because you did something wrong based on the law that's been written.
Yeah. And that has to be the
Coaches
case.
get to do stuff wrong all the time
Yeah.
and don't have to give back a percentage of what they make based on the law that's been written.
That's a very good point. And so that's why talking about it will make it happen. But people who say, well, we can't do it because it's too complicated or it's too difficult. If it's complicated for everybody on the boat, then it's complicated for the people at the top of the boat getting the money, and that would be the coaches and the administration. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around for half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. So, Big C, in the scheme of things, and I love the fact that people are always trying to say, what can we do to make it better? I think this conversation, it hasn't happened at this level, I don't think, in the history of sports, Big C. And because more money's involved, people are more conscious now. It's good to ask those questions. And speaking of asking questions, you just brought up the fact that Coach Miller, Sean Miller, at Arizona, did you say he was reinstated today? I didn't get that news yet.
Reinstated. He's going to be coaching tonight, Charlton. The university has investigated and they found no foundation to the
Really?
allegations that were made by the FBI and the wiretapping. I guess they were able to clarify that the voice that they heard was
That
not
wasn't his
Coach
voice?
Miller, and that they
Wow.
did not see him exchange any money, so
Wow.
he's clean.
Wow, so they had a ventriloquist that was dropping dime on Coach. And whatever happens, but you just think about this. You said he gets $4 million a year, and if you get the money, get the money. But here are people, NCAA, that want to penalize poor kids, primarily African American. Look at the lineups, especially March Madness. But they have a guy on tape, just like Donald Trump was on tape about grabbing people by the vagina. And they say, well, no, he said it wasn't my voice. they know, they saw it. They heard it with their own ears. And then the NCAA makes a rush to say, well, it wasn't him, or we're going to forgive him, and we didn't hear what we thought we heard or what we know we heard. But they'll justify not giving players their just due. Now, players look at that, Big C. Now, why would they not take the money when they know when the white guys get caught, they're going to find a way to say, well, we'll pat him on the back. It wasn't his voice. But they want to take away scholarships of everybody else. Big C, that's a bad message to send. And I hope he's innocent, but I know I heard what I heard, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is back to the money grab that you talked about, Charlton. The NCAA is not going to let this March Madness money go.
Yeah.
It doesn't they don't care how bad it seems,
yeah,
or how bad it seems,
yeah,
what they're doing. But they're not going to let this money go in the month of March. This money's already on the slate. They've cut the deals with the sponsors and
wow,
everything else with the television, companies. This show must go on, regardless of what's going on. The show must go on, okay? And that's their whole thought. They will sort it out after they got the money.
Yeah.
That's what the NCAA is saying right now. We'll sort it all out after we get the money, but we're not walking away from this payday by sanctioning universities,
yeah,
by sanctioning coaches, by sanctioning players.
Yeah.
If they remove 25 of these teams that are on the FBI list,
yeah,
of improprieties, this tournament's shot.
It'd be over. Yeah.
It's over with. I mean, the NIT would have more. You got to bring all the players out of the NIT to play.
Which used to
and
be
then you
bigger.
can't have the NIT tournament because you won't have enough teams
yeah.
to fit the NIT. So the
yeah.
NCAA is going to let this run through.
Yeah.
If they have to strip a team of the title a year from now, Charlton,
yep,
they will do that. But they would much rather turn a blind eye on all of what's gone on illegally,
yeah,
than to say we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
That's basically what they're doing. They're just turning a blind eye instead of saying we knew what was going on, because they do.
Yeah.
This is not new. This is what's gone on since I was in college and even before.
Yeah.
I witnessed it.
Yeah.
I picked up envelopes. I was with basketball players who picked up envelopes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We did it. You're going to tell me that I can't eat? I can't buy a pair of sneakers that I want?
No. You can play games,
No,
though.
I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, I know.
My parents couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
couldn't afford the scholarship I had.
Yeah.
So all of those perks were part of the scholarship. Did we get paid equally in college?
Wow.
No, Charlton. There were players who didn't get a dime.
Wow.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, anybody who wants to sit up that received a package of money, free tickets or whatever extra perks they got in college and say it didn't happen,
Yeah.
then you're lying to yourself.
And a lot of
Okay?
people are doing that. Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah.
I was a part of it. I witnessed it, and it has not stopped.
Well,
But the people who were culpable, Charlton,
yeah.
didn't have a hand in it, okay?
Yeah. And I
They
think
sent you to where you needed to go.
that's a good point,
They
Big
knew
C.
how to keep their hands clean back in the old days.
Yeah.
Everybody now has just got so brazen that it's being publicized.
And it's a shame because it really lessens the stance of the NCAA when they hear a guy on tape. I mean, they heard his own voice on tape, and they rushed to get him back out there and give him that $4 million or whatever he's making. But the other players, they just don't do the same, and I think that's unfortunate. But we know that's what happens, especially in the world of sports. I do want to touch on, before we get into this thing going on.
Let me give
yeah.
it to you this way, Charlton.
Yeah.
Every player that's on all these sports networks on television, okay?
Yep.
And they want to sit up and be scrutinizing about what's going on in college football.
Yeah.
Every one of them receive compensation
Yep.
beyond their scholarship when they were in college.
Oh yeah.
Every one of them.
Yep.
There's not a one that's sitting up, whether they're bashing the NCAA or bashing the players,
Yeah.
that did not receive extra benefits while they were in college.
Well, Big C, my thinking is the guys that are saying, well, we can't possibly pay these young black guys. They're the ones who, they know they've gotten paid, and they think that if it comes out that people start getting paid, they'll have to go out and do the Heidi Fleiss thing and disclose who also got paid as they have their TV jobs. I mean, you shouldn't make people work without getting compensated. That's just a fact, Big C, especially the ones who could use it the most. which happen to be the young African-American athletes. And I advocate for everybody, but people know that's true. I want to jump real quick to the NFL before we get on some football things in Indianapolis. The Raiders with John Gruden saying all the right things. He let go of Janikowski, which has been the longest tenured Raider and was still a good kicker, but we know it's a business. He had some competition and had some injuries. They let him go. But he wants to keep beast mode, and he likes the fact that they have Crabtree and Cooper. Well, of course you got to say you like that, because if they get a chance to trade him, they'll trade him after saying we love you. But beast mode nearly had 1,000 yards last year and didn't even run the ball that much. That's one of the mistakes that Del Rio made. They tried to take it easy on him when you got to be in shape coming into the season. You can't wait until the guy's in the third and fourth week of the season before you get him in shape. Big, see that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, when you went to training camp, all it was to make adjustments to play.
Yeah.
There's no longer, that you go in there and you got all this calisthenics and conditioning that's going on. If you can't make it through the first day of conditioning and training camp, you might as well get cut nowadays. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I always look at training camp as a way to rest. Because that all-season regimen was hell. I was harder than any conditioning coach that I knew.
Yeah.
Between the hill running and the bike riding and the weight training, it was a relief.
Yeah. That's
going
true.
to training camp, because I didn't have to push myself.
Yeah.
I just ran the pace that everybody else ran at that point.
Yeah.
But when you show up, it's a full-time business now. It's not like it was in the '60s.
Yeah.
Where you went to training camp and you spent a month in training camp before you even played a preseason game.
Yeah.
Okay, it was about getting in shape.
Yeah.
You look at it now, and I think the Hall of Fame game is played a week to 10 days after training camp starts.
Yeah, they get right at it.
You get right into the live action, so you have to be in shape. And now veterans, Charlton, generally don't play until the last half of the fourth preseason game.
I was talking to a player for the 49ers just 2 days ago. He actually told me about how he works out with LeVar Bowman and how the guy is just in the weight room all the time, and they have a defensive back out of LSU that was also, I think Reed was also in the weight room all the time. They didn't just wait until season began before they got in shape. I want to take that same thought, Big C, and I look at your friend John Elway, America's prodigal quarterback when he was playing back in the day. His father, Jack Elway, coached at Stanford. Elway, played at Stanford also, and didn't want to get drafted into a football team, and so he held out, ends up with the Denver Broncos, and went to several Super Bowls, lost more than he won. But has he shown that he's lost some of his luster? Because without having Peyton Manning, they haven't been that great of a team. And even when they had Manning, their defense carried them. But he's an offensive guy. So with Manning, obviously, he's coming in as a Hall of Famer, just a matter of when he retired. Has Elway shown that he doesn't have the acumen as a GM that he had as an athlete? Would that be a far stretch, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's easy to live on someone's accolades when you move into a managerial position or even a coaching position. That love affair, because you won a couple of championships, lasts a long time.
Yeah.
It keeps players and coaches in positions.
Yeah.
The thing with Elway is he got fortunate because he brought Manning in right away.
Yeah.
Okay. But Manning also fell off the cliff in a hurry.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he had a couple of great years, and then all of a sudden, it was over. I mean, he hit the wall, and it was like somebody forgot to turn the light on.
Yeah.
And since then, when you look at his evaluation at his position, quarterback, it has not been the greatest. The best of them have been Trevor Siemian, a seventh-round draft pick out of Northwestern 5 years ago. And everybody else that he's brought in has been able to beat out this young man. I mean, he's brought in Sanchez, he's brought in Osweiler. They haven't been able to beat him out. He drafted the kid out of Memphis a couple of years ago. Yeah. And he can't even stay on the field. Paxton, he's crying on the sideline.
Paxton Lynch.
So, but this is John Elway evaluating talent, and this is the same talent that your buddy Mel Kiper said was great.
Yep. I've heard
and Paxton.
I've heard
that. So you're not always the best evaluator of talent.
Yeah.
You got to go back to Gary Kubiak.
Yeah.
how successful has the team been since Kubiak and Wade Phillips? Those two
Wade
have
Phillips.
departed the organization. The defense has not been the same.
No.
Wade Phillips is in a place I think called Los Angeles now.
Yep.
And you look at that defense with the Rams under Wade Phillips.
Yep.
Okay? Gary Kubiak is gone, who is no longer the offensive coordinator and head coach.
Yeah.
They have not been able to muster any offense since then.
Yeah, and so now I got to ask you this thought, because Elway was an athletic quarterback at Stanford, All-American, great athlete. He was also a running quarterback, the kind they're trying to say they don't want anymore, and it got them to a couple of Super Bowls, Big C, and some AFC championships back in the day when he played. And I look at some of the players, and I know they're going to have the combine, they're going to have their spin on whoever they like. But if there's any quarterback that's in the draft right now that reminds you of Elway when he was an All-American at Stanford, and we have, it's not Josh Allen, it's not Sam Darnold, it's not even Josh Rosen. I think it's Lamar Jackson, because they both could run. Jackson's faster. They both could throw the ball far downfield. Jackson can do that. It's almost, they're similar type athletes. And I think if they were to take the chance on someone who can come in and give him what he thought he was when he was a younger player, which is mobile quarterback, I think they have that same chance in him. But they're not looking at him. They're looking at Kirk Cousins, who was gotten rid of by the Washington Redskins because they didn't think he was the answer. So how does a guy who's not the answer for the Redskins, who didn't make the playoffs, become an answer for the Broncos when they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl? I just want to get your thoughts on that, Big C.
You know, when I look at Kirk Cousins, this reminds me of those old satire movies that you used to see when I was a young guy, and they had these gentlemen that took care of the ladies of the streets. They were called pimps.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard about that.
And this is what they seem to be doing with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
All the talking heads that are talking NFL on these talk shows, they all seem to be pimps for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I got the best right here.
Yeah.
I ain't going to get no better than this.
Right.
He hasn't won, but, there's nothing out there better.
It's like Sean Miller. Don't look at what you heard and saw. Just look at what we tell you, Big C.
Don't look at a track record, Just, it's good.
Yeah.
That's all I hear about Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why Kirk Cousins hasn't won.
Yeah.
Because he's not a winner.
No.
That's the difference. It's not because he's had misfortune.
Yeah.
It's because he's not a winner.
Yeah.
There's been dozens of quarterbacks around the NFL just like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
They've had this huge upside that they can never get past the 50% plateau.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They look great. They had good numbers, but they never won.
Yeah.
They don't know what the playoffs means other than sitting at home watching holding your kid in your lap.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's what they know the playoffs are.
Yeah.
But, a winner is a guy who can motivate men.
Yeah.
Okay? Doesn't have to be a coach.
Yeah.
But a winner is a guy who can motivate men. There's quarterbacks. I played with quarterbacks the minute they walked on the field.
Yeah.
You knew the game was over.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Whether they were playing for you or somebody else, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins doesn't strike that fear in anybody. And then I look at the Minnesota Vikings organization.
Yeah.
Where people are saying, well, they're going to the Vikings and he'll make the Vikings a much better team.
How?
Now, I think last year the Vikings went to the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
With a quarterback who was like 23 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
Okay, it was up for MVP of the league.
Yep.
And Kirk Cousins, I believe, threw twice as many interceptions as that quarterback did.
Yep.
And won less games. And this quarterback didn't start the entire season. I think this quarterback for the Vikings was like, 11-2?
Yeah.
12-3 as a starter?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, 12-3 as a starter. Kirk Cousins, I think as a starter last year was 8-7-1.
Yeah.
Somewhere 9-7-9. He was 7-9 as a starter.
Yeah.
And you're saying you should give Kirk Cousins $30 million for being 7-9, but the kid that was 12-3 for you, you should let him go.
Well, you think even in that NFC East, okay? Dak Prescott If you look at Carson Wentz before he got injured, Nick Foles, who won the Super Bowl, Eli Manning had a down year because he's been struggling the last couple of years. But of all those quarterbacks, Cousins is the least successful as far as winning percentage, okay? But they're trying to say he's worth more than all those guys if he goes to another team. Doesn't make any sense.
When you think about it, Charlton, you name three of them.
Yeah.
You take all three of their salaries. You take Zach Prescott, Nick Foles,
Yep.
and
Carson
Wentz. Those three quarterbacks combined, Charlton, $20 million.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
$20 million between those three quarterbacks. That was their salaries last year and this year coming up.
Yeah.
Okay? Unless one of them re-signed.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins last year, I believe he was in the neighborhood of $28 million.
Yep.
$28 million. And he had less victories than Zach Prescott.
Yeah.
He had less victories than Carson Wentz.
Yep.
And he did nowhere and have the success of a Nick Foles.
NFL MVP, yeah. That's
and
a good point.
The NFL is saying, all the TV pimps, is that he's the most valuable player out there.
It's like Sean Miller. Don't believe what you hear and see. Believe what we tell you. That's why we ask people to Google it. And now, if you just want to give away money, and you got so much money you just want to give it away to guys that lose habitually, then do what Kevin Durant did. Go around your major cities, the ones where you build your stadiums and you kind of, move people out of the area so you can put a stadium in that part of town, and find some boys and girls clubs to donate money to help them go to college. But just taking money and throwing it away and trying to tell us that what we heard is not what we heard in Sean Miller. What we saw is not what we saw in Kirk Cousins. And you're going to tell us that we're dumb enough to believe what you tell us because a fool and his money are easy to part. But I just think that's how you have too much money to pay for a guy who doesn't win, doesn't have a history of winning, but you want to make him the highest paid. It doesn't make any sense. Big C, I want to close out the final segment, the NBA basketball. It truly is fantastic. I love NBA basketball. It's a game that's so great because you got 5-on-5, and you also got where you can see the faces of these athletes. You can sit close to them. You're about 2 feet from the baseline if you got good seats. Where you sit, you guys can sit up in the luxury boxes. But people that got to pay for the tickets, Big C, they sit down about 2 feet away from the action. You can hear and see what's going on. When I look at Golden State last night in Washington, D.C., and they did a great thing, and Durant going back home, donating that $10 million to help kids who are underprivileged go on to college, get a better education. So kudos to him. And they put a beat down on Washington, even though it got a little close at times. And then their counterpart, you look at Houston, what they did in L.A., and Harden had a great game. He's really the MVP right now. But give me your thoughts on both of these teams as they stare each other down for the Western Conference Championship. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's not even a contest right now with these teams. Everybody that's out there on the talk shows on TV are trying to hype it up that it's between these two teams for the NBA title. They haven't even gotten to that point. They both have to play a couple series to match up with each other.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to, and hopefully no one gets hurt. And last year when the Rockets lost and then that hurt their playoff chances. Everybody said, well, Harden had a bad playoff. They didn't have the name in the middle any longer.
Yeah.
And so that really hurt the Rockets more than Harden having enough time because you lost your big man who had been so valuable to you.
Yeah.
And so right now it's about which team stays healthy, Charlton, and is shooting well at that time. We can see that the Warriors are shooting better than what they have all year.
Yeah.
They had to get a couple of new players incorporated into the lineup this year.
Yeah.
And now these players are finally coming along, and they're playing solid basketball.
Yeah.
Houston has been consistent across the table. And, with James Harden playing at all MVP, MVP status.
Oh, yeah.
All year long. He's been that consistent player.
Yeah.
But, these teams, they're on a destiny course to get to that point.
Yeah.
But who can determine who's going to win? When you think about depth of shooting, Golden State has that.
Yeah.
They go out and they just outshoot people.
Yeah.
They don't care who you have on the court.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep shooting. That's their mindset.
Yeah.
And so what makes it hard for their opponent is to keep up that same pace
Yeah.
of shooting.
Yeah.
that's the hardest part for Houston.
Yeah.
If they come down to that Western Conference Championship,
Yeah.
as a team, can they bring in 4 3-point shooters to keep up the pace with Golden State?
And also, if you look at the fact that they've been there before, it's a lot like Usain Bolt when he's running the Olympics and running any race. You know he's coming. It might be a good thing for Golden State. It's hard to keep the lead in the race for the duration of the race, to always be in first place. It's hard to keep that lead. You need to have something to chase. If you can see something in front of you, and the Indy 500, they call it the pace car. You pace the pace car until they give you the go sign, and then you race past it. And no matter who wins, and there's no guarantee those two teams will get there. I think the odds in favor that they will, but those two teams will decide who comes out of the West. One of them definitely will come out of the West, but I want to get your thoughts real quick before we close out. The games tonight, you have the Lakers at Miami, East Coast, West Coast. You have Minnesota at Portland, and you have Brooklyn at Sacramento, but you have Philadelphia at Cleveland. That's an 8 p.m. start, East Coast. Now, if you look at the Cavaliers, I know there's some billboard signs in Philly telling LeBron to come there. He's not going to Philadelphia. But Joel Embiid is going to learn what it's like to be consistently an all-star and not someone who takes time off. Of course, he had the injuries in his feet. They're kind of pacing him back in. But I think he's going to see in LeBron James what a true all-star player is, even though Embiid is good. Big C, I just want to get your thoughts for the youth of Cleveland with the newcomers. You know, the youth of Cleveland, they just added some young players to LeBron, but they got a first-round draft pick team. It seems the last 4 or 5 years they've had a top pick in Philly. What are you expecting to see with this younger team in Philly against a guy that's experienced in LeBron with a couple of young guys? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a Philly team that really needs to learn how to bounce back after losing on a last-second shot last night.
Yeah.
But also Cleveland. They suspended J.R. Smith. They're going into this game for conduct, they say, detrimental.
Yep.
The same rule in college, I guess. In every pro football.
They don't know what it is.
but,
Yeah.
Cleveland, since the All-Star break, just hasn't had their mojo that they had prior to the All-Star game. I think the players that they brought in sat back, got complacent, thought it would be easy like that every night.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been that way for them.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia is fighting for bracketing.
Yeah.
They're trying to show Cleveland that they can compete with them in a playoff series as it comes down to where they're playing each other in the East.
Yeah.
They got a lot of young guys on this team that have developed quite nicely. I think they're in the 4th slot in the East.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for them to prove to Cleveland that they're of that caliber and that they're serving notice that if they face each other in the playoffs, it's not going to be an easy road like it's been in the past.
Well, that's always something good to look forward to. Big C, we've had so much covering on. Again, Arizona saying we didn't hear what we thought we heard. And the Warriors with the win over Washington. The Rockets with the win over the Clippers. We know the NFL Combine, they have a lot of players that, going in auditioning. Some are going to throw passes. Some are not going to throw passes. We don't know what's going to happen until they really strap them up. And that's when we'll find out where the buck stops. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, what I'm looking forward to, Charlton, I'm going to take a step back in the day. I'm going to take a step back 30 years ago today, Charlton. Wayne Gretzky became the NHL's all-time assist leader. This shows the greatness of that young man, who also became an all-time leading scorer. Eventually, he passed Gordie Howe to become the all-time assist leader, and eventually passing him as the all-time scorer in the NHL. Two of the greatest hockey players of all time, Charlton.
Yep.
Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe.
Two amazing guys that can roll around on skates, on ice. I have a hard time walking on land. These brothers did it on ice, Big C, and you can always do it too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. You can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any men or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big City Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.